Boy everyone, MARKCHES here. Welcome to the channel, and for today's video, I'll be giving you my performance review of the all-new Lebron 21. Let's go. Here is the Lebron 21 in the Akoya colorway. So it has the light bone campfire orange that's on the tongue and some gray and gold or beige on the side. Yeah, they're calling it the light bone for this area. It has a translucent outsole. So this is the first colorway that came out here in the Philippines. Pardon those dusts there on the outsole. So this is the first colorway that was released here in the Philippines, and I would just like to commend Nike for giving us a very nice box for the Lebron 21. And yes, Jordan Brand, I am talking to you for giving us that crappy box or the recycled box. I know you're going to that green direction, but hopefully next time on the Jordan 39 you will give us a more like a nicer recycled box. So that's just my little wish. And for the Lebron 21, they gave us a very nice box, and you can see this fans here on the side. It is giving that vibe of the oyster. I'm not too sure why the theme was oyster for the Lebron 21, and it was showing in all the colorways of the Lebron 21. And even for this one, you can see the flywire cables peeking through the upper of the Lebron 21s. It really gives me a vibe for the foam faucet and the glove, so we'll get into that in a bit. Just like to commend Nike again for the box, for giving us a very nice box. And look at the tissue. It has that element of the oyster, so really nice box. And even this tech specs, it's a clam or an oyster fan, and it has the tech specs of the Lebron 21. So very nice details on the Lebron 21. Everything that we really wanted to know about the Lebron 21 will be here, similar to the Lebron 20s. So this is the second low-cut sneaker. I mean, from the first release of all the signature sneaker, I know the Lebron 9 and the 8s released a low-cut of the versions of the signature sneaker, but this one, the Lebron 20 and the 21, that's the first, or that's the main silhouette of the Lebron 20 and 21. So really good feedbacks from a lot of people from the Lebron 20, and that's why they brought back the low cut on the Lebron 21. And right off the box, to talk about the upper, which is the main difference of the 21 from the 20, because I haven't seen a colorway of the 21 that's made out of knit based on the photos that was released by Nike. And this has a full leather upper on the outer layer of the sneaker, which is really good in my opinion, because there's something about leather. I actually have two leather upper of the 20s because I really like the lockdown and the support that is giving me, especially laterally on the 21, because on the knit, this one kinda is soft, but I know it doesn't stretch that much. But if you base it or compare it with the leather upper of the Lebron 21 or 20 rather, you would feel the leather material really catching your foot better compared to the ones that has knit. So that's little details, especially if you're a heavy stepper laterally. You would feel that there's a little bit of delay on the knit because it stretches just a bit compared to the leather upper. And that's one thing that I really like about the 21's upper. And it's not just because of the outer layer is made out of leather, but like I've said, those flywire cables that are grooved, that are seen. And this is not just a gimmick, because the first time that I used the 21s, I immediately felt the lateral support that it gave me. It was really catching my lateral moves on the 21, and it was ultra responsive when I'm doing lateral cuts. And I like how they made it or exaggerated the fly wires, and it's kind of fused on the leather. You can see it, and it's the thicker kind of fly wire compared to some of the Nike models that uses a thinner fly wire. So this one I think is maybe special for Lebron, if I'm not mistaken. They use a thicker one, and you can see it in the swoosh in the middle side of the 21s. And like I've said, that's one difference that you would feel from the 20 and 21, even though they have a very similar shape of the upper, similar width, you can see in the forefoot. But when you are doing lateral cuts on the 21, you will feel it to be a little bit more secure laterally, or maybe it's just some psychological effect of that material. But for me, I think it really works, because even on the first time that I use it, I felt very confident when I was doing lateral cuts or doing some sidestep on the Lebron 21s. And I think that's one improvement on the 21 that I can see from the 20s. As for the tongue part of both sneakers, this one has a knit upper, and I think even in my pink pair, it has some textile material on the lower part of the tongue and leather on the top. But on the 21s, there's some perforated foam here on the lower part, giving it more ventilation to the sneaker. And of course, the leather material on top. It smells really good. I don't know if this is synthetic leather. I believe this is not. Correct me if I'm wrong, because all areas of the leather is stitched, so I cannot see what's below the leather material. But even if this is synthetic, it looks classy, it looks expensive, and even the quilted padding at the back of the tongue is a very nice accent on the Lebron 21. And of course, the Nike Sphere, similar to the ones on the 20s. It's very soft, it's like memory foam, and there's no heel slippage. And comparing it to my size 11 on the Lebron 20s, my 20s has just a little bit of slippage. It wasn't really cupping my foot that well compared to the 10.5 of the 20s. That's why I got 10.5 on the 20s, because it could fit me. But I doubt if I could fit 10.5, or actually I tried it on the 10.5 on the 21s, and it's narrower around the midfoot. Even on the top view, you can see the midfoot of the 21 to be a bit narrower here. So the upper is kind of constricting my midfoot on the 10.5, but on the 20s, it has a wider opening around the midfoot part of the 20. So true to size on the 21s if you are regular footer, and half size up if you are a wide footer. So the upper is narrower compared to the 20s if you're comparing it. And I didn't experience any heel slippage on the 11s, because I think mainly because the midfoot or the upper is narrower, so it kind of hugs my foot a bit more or well. So I think that's the reason why my foot is not going up here on the heel. So it has a better heel cup on the true to size on the 21s. And at the back, there's an internal heel cup plus this fly wires, or yeah, this is fly wires that they made into like an oyster clam shape. And there's an oyster here at the heel saying, I think this is the 21XX1 on the heel part. And there's a pull tab here. I don't know if there's something here. Yeah, estimated 1984 birth year of Lebron. And look at the other pair. It's also 1984. EST 1984. And now let's move on to the insole. The insole is, I think, the same with the 20s. Yeah, pretty much the same insole. And even the cushion is exactly the same, or just a little bit difference on the forefoot zoom, which I think it has more groove or lines, or the cuts of the 21 zoom unit in the forefoot has a bit more. So it's more articulated compared to the 20s. But when I was playing with it, it kind of felt the same. So cushion on the forefoot is the same. On the heel, the zoom unit on the heel is actually kind of the same, but the main difference is actually the cushion, or the cushion that's carrying both sneakers, because the 20s felt a little bit more plush and my foot is compressing a bit more on the heel part of the 20s. So I think I like the cushion on the 21s a bit because I'm not sagging too much, especially when I'm stepping, and my foot doesn't tend to go sag backwards. So it kind of gives me a delay sometimes on the 20s, especially when I do hard landings on the 20s. But on the 21s, since the cushion is not too plush, so it's more responsive around the heel, but still giving me that compression that I want, or impact protection that I want on the heel part of the 21s. But if you like more cushion on the heel, of course, you would like 20. So just a matter of preference, which you would like better in terms of feel and performance. But as for the Zoom unit, the bounciness is really relatively the same. It's bouncy and responsive at the same time. Another main difference between the two is 20s is carbon fiber shank in the middle, but on the 21 they use a TPU or plastic midfoot shank, but relatively the same. If you bend, yeah, there, and 21s it's harder to bend the 20s compared to the 21s, but when you're using it, it feels the same, and there's torsional rigidity on the 21s and even on the 20s. Oh, the 20s is harder to twist compared to 21s, which you can twist a bit more. But if you're just playing with one sneaker, I think 21's midfoot shank is still as good as the ones of the 20s. Now let's move on to the traction of these two sneakers. Of course, this is a map of Akron, and there's a Dunkman logo here on 20s, and the Dunkman disappeared here on the 21s. And I don't think this is the map of Akron, but kind of looks like just brain pattern. But the depth of the traction is relatively the same, and even the blades of the rubber feels the same in terms of hardness. And when you're using it on a clean court, it grips really well. On a dusty court, you need a little wipe, but just little and not often. The traction on these two sneakers are really nice, but because you can see on my 21, it has a lot of dust. It picks up a lot of dust, but it didn't affect on the performance of the traction. Even on the other side, you can see the dust there, but on my 20s, didn't pick up dust. But in terms of grips really well. It's the top tier traction so far on my list, and it's very similar grip on the 20s. If you like the grips or the traction in the 20s, you will surely love the traction on the 21s, plus the squeakiness that it gives. Now let's compare the weight of both sneakers. 21 is 465. The 20s with the knit upper is 445, so 20 grams difference because this is leather. It's dual layered. It's a little bit heavier, but when you're using it, you wouldn't feel it that much. But on a 10.5 with the leather upper on the 20s, it is 450. So 10 grams difference from the two leathers. This is 10.5. So if I got the 11, I think they will weigh the same. So pretty much the same weight on the Lebron 20s. And of course, a knit upper is kind of lighter compared to the 21. As for the price, it's still $200 US. Good thing that they didn't raise up the price because it's really expensive already, or 10,900 pesos, or just around 11,000 if you round it off. So an expensive sneaker, top of the line sneaker, but in terms of performance, still as good as the 20s, and with the subtle improvements. If you are looking for more support and more responsiveness on the heel, but if you like more compression, you could stay with the 20s. The 20s still performs very, very good, and the 21s had some little tweak. Of course, the more support that the 21's giving you, but if you are a wide footer, the 20s has a better fit for wide foot because the 21, like I said, the midfoot is a lot narrower compared to the 20s. You can see this groove is really going inside. You can see the shape of the upper here compared to the 20s, which around the midfoot is just going straight. So there's no curve on the lateral part of the 20s. So those are the little details that made the 21 different from the 20s and the little upgrades that they did with the 21s. So if it ain't broke, why fix it, right? So another good performing sneaker from Nike, and it looks really nice in my opinion. It looks sexier compared to the 20s. When I'm looking on the toe down view, it looks a little bit sexier on the foot. So let me know which one you would buy. Would you be getting the 21s or would you stick on the 20s and wait for it to go on sale? Let me know in the comments down below. This has been MARKCHES once again. Thank you for dropping by the channel. Catch you in the next one. Cheers.